Good to go? Okay, we'll call this December 14th council meeting to order. I would like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded lands of the Mi'kmaq. Let's stand for the singing of O Canada.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriots love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Okay, record of attendance. So we have Councillor Bell Hatfield is with us virtually. Go ahead.
Yes, Your Worship, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councillor Lesser for this evening.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you. Absent with regrets. Declaration of conflict of interest. Anyone?
And again, I'll be leaving the council table on item 12B on the agenda. Thank you.
B. Okay, approval of the agenda. Please. Councillor Heather Hatfield, second by Councillor Cleveland. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Approval of minutes, Town Council, November 16th. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Heather, discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. And approval of minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting on November 23rd. Deputy Mayor? Councillor Dares? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, so we have a public hearing this evening. We have two items on the public hearing agenda, and this is how it works. I think everyone's aware. So the public hearing is not for us to speak or to answer questions or anything. It's simply to make sure that we hear from the public on their thoughts on the two issues that are on the public hearing agenda. So if anyone wants to come to the microphone, I will ask 3 times. And if anyone wants to come up, you would just come to the microphone. Mike, are they using that one? Okay, so the podium here, just state your name and where you live. And you've got about 5 minutes to share your thoughts, and then it comes up on the agenda later. So can somebody want to come?
There's 2 items. Do we talk about both of them?
Yeah, you can talk on each, sure.
One and then the
Oh,
other.
no, we'll call one and then we'll call the other one. We'll let everybody speak on one issue.
Okay.
And yeah, so you can come back up after.
What's the first one going to be?
The first one is 236 water. Yep. Okay, so the first issue is 9A. To enter into a development agreement with the owners of 236 Water Street, PID 9033, 4103, to allow for a total of A, 56 units to be used as dwelling units contained wholly within the 2 buildings located on the subject property, and B, any use permitted within the underlying zone of the Town of Yarmouth Land Use Bylaw for the property at 236 Water Street. So would someone like to speak to this? Okay, you can come up to the microphone, tell us who you are and where you live, and you can... You, yeah, Mike can fix that for you. Good. So you got about 5 minutes to share your thoughts and.
Okay, so my name is Doris Powell. I live on 109 Brunswick Street. First, let me say that I only found out about this like yesterday morning, about the 56 units. And whenever anything's going on in town, I like to do the research because I don't trust what you guys do without oversight by us, the people who pay your salary. So I found some interesting things that were, let's just say, concerning. So, where do I start? The site itself is on a brownfield site with what we know to be PCBs and transformers that were buried there. It's on a flood zone that's prone to flooding that would hinder access. It's surrounded on 3 sides by industrial buildings. It's subject to industrial process noise and truck traffic 24 hours a day. I can't imagine anyone wanting to live there in an industrial zone unless they were forced to live there because of, let's just say, 15-minute city issues. So when I tried to do some research on it, I kind of got a lot of unanswered questions people didn't know. I talked to Martin Beck, he's the town of Yarmouth planner. He couldn't answer questions that I had about, like, for example, traffic study. Was a traffic study done? Because 56 units, that's 56 cars at least, maybe more if they had visitors coming over. And he didn't really know about whether there was any kind of traffic study done. So he told me to talk to Will Robinson Mushcott, who I understand is a consultant. And he basically said that it was not his issue because it goes to, and he sent me down another rabbit hole. He told me to talk to a guy named Domario Dunkley. So, and that he was the municipal engineer. He actually didn't even know who he was. I had to find out who he was, who the municipal engineer was, and they said it was Domario Dunkley. And he basically said that he was told they didn't have to do a traffic study because there were some meetings 3 months ago where he met with some traffic authority. He called it the traffic authority from Halifax. And that because it was 56 units, there didn't have to be any kind of traffic. They didn't even have to look at the traffic, which is bizarre because there's traffic jams there now. When you go to 5 Corners in the morning, people going to the hospital. I'd say, you know, there's an issue there. I think that unless everyone's riding a bicycle, and then we're going back to the 15-minute cities, which is a whole other can of worms. But anyway, I just can't see where this would attract retired renters. I spoke to Neil Prescott, who apparently spoke at the last meeting, and he was adamant about he can't imagine how any high-end retired renters would want to live here, and that he was told because they get to look at the hospital, which I don't, that's like to me looking at a cemetery. I don't know why you want to look out the window at a hospital, but also, when I called the town and I still didn't get an answer, I called this morning and asked them, I said, what is the minimum size of dwelling for like an apartment? Because in looking at the drawing of these 2 buildings and being able to put 56 in them, or half of each in each building, 4 stories tall, these would have to be really tiny, what I would call coffin apartments. And again, I don't know who would want to live there in a tiny little apartment. He mentioned that the doctor who had bought it, and that's another thing, we don't know how it got sold because we never saw it got tendered. But the doctor, he said, that bought it, that now lives in New Brunswick, said that it was going to be for doctors to live there. And I don't know about you, but I don't know any doctors that want to live in an 800 square foot coffin apartment and look out the window at work. Unless maybe you're a trainee or something. But I just think the whole thing is ham-fisted, and especially he mentioned that he's going to be expanding, so there'll be even less area for these people to live in. And the other issue was the soil, with the transformers and the PCBs, there was no soil study done. Apparently, they're going to have to get a variance on the height because it's a 4-story building, and I believe it's only 36 feet. And so because they have to lift it up because of the flooding, it's going to be taller than that, so you'd have to get a variance. He also mentioned there'd have to be a variance on the setback from the water. And that would also be because of the new MPS that you guys just approved in the municipality, that you don't have the 36 feet, whatever, that's from the high water mark.
Yeah, we're not in the municipality, but keep going.
Well, but they said
Nothing to do
that
with
that
us.
covers the whole area.
No, it doesn't.
Yarmouth, town of Yarmouth,
Not
anyway.
even-
So anyway, I don't know what your setbacks are, but he didn't feel that it met the setbacks, both for height or being close to the water, so. So anyway, I believe you have it as some kind of mixed use. As far as I was always understanding, that's a commercial or industrial area. It shouldn't really be mixed use. I mean, I can't imagine kids playing, that live in those apartments, in that dirt, in that, where we know that area, that used to be a PCB dump, and, the transformers were buried under there. And then also, when you guys tore down the building, you didn't do any recycling, so all that asbestos dust and all the other dust or whatever is just blowing around there. It's not a hospitable place for people to live, I would say. So, although I'm for housing in Yarmouth, and I have no problem with, building new and good housing for people to live in, I just don't think this is a good spot, being that it's a industrial, it's an industrial area. And basically Neil said he has no intention of leaving that area. And matter of fact, he's going to be expanding. And I know that TechPac is also very happy there, and I don't think they have any intentions of leaving. So it appeared to him, and now this is what he mentioned, but he said it appeared to him that whoever bought it is just trying to get this approved so that he can flip it and sell it. Because it just doesn't make any sense. Putting this here just doesn't make any sense. It's not a place that anybody would want to live unless they had to. And if they have to, then that's a whole different can of worms, and, we can go there. But it just appears that it's being pushed from above. Everyone was doing this when I was trying to get answers. Nobody knew, nobody knows anything. And so I think it's pretty obvious what's going on here, and anyone with eyes to see can see it. So
Thank you.
I'm against this project, and I'm not against, just to say, I'm not against building a nice condo high-rise somewhere, but with that being a industrial zone, I don't think it's the right place. So that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak to this issue?
And by the way, we registered because we were told you can't speak now without registering.
Either one.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo 100% of all my wife's comments about everything, just to be sure that I'm captured as agreeing with that. I'm Rob Powell, her husband. I live on 109 Brunswick. I'm concerned about the schizoid approach that the town seems to be adopting for zoning. this seems antithetical to what the idea of zoning is, to pop a residential unit inside an industrial. That, if we're in Brooklyn, I could understand that if you had some open spaces like they have in Brooklyn where they've cleared out areas and buildings have been removed. The waterfront there is gravel and there's a guardrail, and then there's the bric-a-brac rocks down into the mudflats. I know that I saw years back a marina plan in that area years back. It was going to be annexed with the hospital, and there was a whole program about how the hospital was going to have a whole medical campus. That wasn't realized. Perhaps this is a nuclei of that. That would make sense in terms of a holistic planning and zoning effort, but I don't see this as necessarily congruous with something in that order. And there's also sewer pumps through that area, so it's just not a very wholesome area to live in. And also the Groundhog Day storm. There's video of this very area with 3 feet of water in it and raging waves in that area. So I just think it's not a good idea. That's all I got to say.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak to this? I'll ask 2 more times. Would anyone else like to speak to this issue? Oh, no, during the, Carolyn.
Sorry,
Carolyn.
what about,
She's wondering if she should speak now.
now is the public hearing, so.
Oh, the public hearing. I thought she was going to ask questions. Jeff, if you want to come up, by all means, not to answer.
So did Dr. Nestor get a chance to register to speak?
He's online, I believe.
He is?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, then-
Yeah. Okay, so I'll ask one more time. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, hearing no one, we'll move on to the next item, 9B, for the public hearing, to enter into a development agreement to allow for 4 units to continue to be used as dwelling units, short-term rentals, or a combination thereof, and B, any use permitted within the underlying zone, with the exception of dwelling units in excess of 4 units of the Town of Yarmouth Land Use Bylaw for the property at 37 Huntington Street, PID 902-02250. Would anyone like to speak to this one? Come right up.
Okay, so I'm Doris Powell again. 109 Brunswick Street, actually across the street from the subject property. Again, I wouldn't have known about the 56 units if I hadn't gotten a letter about this project or this development agreement. And that's only because I'm 50 feet away, and apparently only people that are 50 feet away from the subject property are notified. That means that only 3 people, possibly 4, would have been notified about this development agreement that my neighbor is trying to get, or actually, he's not my neighbor, he's a landlord or a landowner. So I looked at that and I thought, well, you know, this has been going on since at least all summer, maybe before that. I've seen people coming and going in that property. I've also seen a lot of police there, about 3 or 4 drug busts, probably since he built that place. And people come and go in all hours of the night. And so we pretty much figured that he was running an Airbnb. And whatever. So we, you know, stayed, it's none of our business. However, when we saw that he wanted to have 4 Airbnbs, which is basically he has 4 apartment suites there with kitchens and, you know, the whole thing. And we saw that he was trying to get into a development agreement with town to make all or some of them as he needs them as Airbnb. In other words, if they're not rented, he'll Airbnb them, you know, one or the other, anything to keep them full. I thought to myself, well, that's a hotel. because that is what the definition of a hotel is. It's short-term stay where people come and go and can stay the night or 2 days or one night or whatever. And from what I understand, that would be a commercial use to have a hotel functionally, in a residential area. So I don't understand why this wouldn't be an actual zoning change to commercial, because if you're running your building, the whole thing, and it's non-owner occupied. I talked to your town office today, and they said that in town, you're allowed, if you're owner occupied house, you're allowed to have like one Airbnb room or suite. And that's whatever, that's fine. But in this case, it's not owner occupied, and it's the entire building. All 4 units are going to be Airbnb. So to me, that's a hotel. And so I think you need to look at it as such. And if he wants to be a hotel, then he needs to go ahead and go through the process of getting a zoning change and getting the commercial zoning and the commercial taxes and X, Y, and Z, and go from there. I think a lot of people my neighbors are not aware of what's going on. Had they been aware, they probably would have been here. I got this letter just a couple days ago and found out that it was only the people that are 50 feet adjoining. So I think other people on Huntington and possibly Brunswick, if they knew about this, I don't think they'd be too happy about it, especially because they've also seen the comings and goings and the constant people leaving all day long, all the time. There's always cars coming and going. It's not like a normal residential traffic pattern. And not to mention, I don't understand what the police are having to do there so often. So anyway, I don't have a problem with the way he was running it. He got his approval for his 4 apartments in an apartment house. That's whatever. That's long-term rentals. But short-term rental, that's a hotel. So if you approve this, you're basically approving a hotel in a residential area, and just know that. So, also, real quick, I couldn't get an answer about the 56 units. I couldn't get an answer whether those would be long-term or short-term either. So I couldn't get an answer whether that was also going to be a hotel approval. They said it could be, as long as they rent for a month or for a 2-week stay, that would be part of your development agreement with whoever the guy that owns that piece of land. So, I think, I'm not against town growing, and I want to see people move here, and I want to see things get better, but I think, again, ham-fisted is the best word that comes to mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak to this one?
Hi, Rob Powell again, 109 Brunswick, across from the subject property. If I had not been in town in the week in question and my wife happened to be observant of what was going on, I would have missed this totally. I've noticed and witnessed transactions in that site at night, all hours, strange happenings, police being mustered and actually appearing before them to offer myself as a witness to what I saw. They were not interested in what I saw, number one. So there's a concern there, just FYI, with the enforcement in that area and what's going on in that building. There seems to be a special privilege in that house. And that's going back before this structure was made, when it was the can house. So the only thing that's similar there is the owner. So I'm concerned about that activity, observing direct firsthand, and I have cameras, so they don't care. So there's been so many exceptions granted to this particular property. Basically, its orientation, its the amount of space it fills in the lot, and that there's no yard constructively. It's not built as a house, it's built as a commercial style entity. It's behind to our Brunswick view shed, which was a hallmark street from a streetscape perspective. It is now, looks like a prison from that aspect of this property. So this is just more icing on the cake, what appears to be a non-zoning zoning code. So I'm just very concerned about the wisdom and guidance of trying to adhere to zoning and preserving residential areas for families, not people who come and go and have parties in the parking lot and yell at all hours of the night, 4 a.m. This is what's happening there. So, and it's lit up all the time. So it's like, you know, if you're concerned about dark skies, this is antithetical to dark skies. It's lit all the time. Yeah, so I brought up to my wife about this aspect. This is constructively a hotel and is undermining the tax base of our hotel owners in the town. This undermines their perception of fairness in terms of them following the rules of the road for commercial usage. This violates that pact when they go and agree to come in and bring their money here. So I think this is undermining that outsider-in perspective from a sales perspective for ourselves as a place to do business and a destination. So this undermines that. It undermines also, as I said, the residency aspects for someone who would want to live in an area with peace and quiet. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Okay, would anyone else like to speak to this one? Anyone else want to speak to the Huntington Street? I'll ask one more time. Would anyone else like to speak to this one? Okay, hearing no one, I will move on to business arising. So these what we just discussed are in the business. So I will reread the development agreement for 236 Water. The recommended motion is that council pass second reading to enter into a development agreement with the owners of 236 Water Street to allow for a total of 56 units to be used as dwelling units contained wholly within 2 buildings located on the subject property, and B, any use permitted within the underlying zone of the Town of Yarmouth land use bylaw for the property at 236 Water Street. Okay, so what you will. Okay, moved by the deputy. Seconded by Councillor Cleveland. Okay, discussions? We got any questions here? We've been through this one a number of times. Go ahead, deputy.
I don't really have a question, but I'm wondering if the CAO could explain how it is that when these things come about, how we do advertise in the public, how there is, before it even gets to us, it goes through the committee, just so people in the crowd who may not think that, you know, there's a process to this that we have to adhere to, that maybe they could be educated on that one.
Yeah, I'll try to speak to that. So we're required under the law to advertise public hearings in a local newspaper. And we do that. We still do have a local newspaper that's published not as often as it used to be, but it is still there, and we do use that. And so there's, I believe it's 14 days, it needs to be advertised twice. We do that. In addition to that, we go above and beyond because we know not everybody reads the newspaper, not everybody gets the newspaper. We publish online the same notices, both on our website and through our Facebook page. We use Alertable, which is a public notification system that people can sign up for and receive all kinds of emergency and non-emergency notices from the town. So that includes everything from street closures, water breaks, council meetings, and notices of public hearings. In addition to that, in this case, and in cases when we're dealing with a specific property, we do mail notices to people who live within 50 feet. And again, nothing other than the newspaper ad is actually required under the Act. All of the other activity that we undertake to advise the public is done as an additional effort by the town to try to reach citizens. Admittedly, you know what, it's awfully hard to reach people who are not generally interested in land use planning. When it is in their own backyard, their level of interest certainly increases. On the 236 Water Street, we had a public participation meeting at the committee level, and we did have a fair number of people, including Mr. Prescott and members of his staff, show up and express their interest or concerns with regard to the application. So I think we have on that application, I think we've reached a fair number of people who had something to say on it. But you know, we will always struggle to reach a broad audience when it comes to land use planning. It just simply is not something that people are thinking about day to day and are looking for something to do on a Thursday night. But unfortunately, it is important. It is important, and you're talking about property rights and things that will happen in your backyard or in your neighborhood, in your community, and people really should be ideally more dialed into that part of what we're doing. But so I hope that answers your question.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, just two quick things. The notification to neighbors, is that not a 100-foot rather than 50? I'm just not sure.
Your Worship, I'm not sure of the exact distance. I was assuming that Mrs. Powell was sharing information directly from the department. I assume
Yeah,
that's correct.
I guess my understanding is it's 100 feet. That's just a minor issue. Secondly, I'm just wondering when we advertise, because I'm looking at the report, the request for decision, I'm looking at the report, and many of the concerns that were, I think, expressed tonight are identified in this report. And I'm wondering, is this report, other than being part of the package tonight, is that report part of the public information that's released?
So in both of these cases, and in all cases, when an application comes to the Plan Advisory Committee, it is available on our website, attached to the Plan Advisory Committee agenda. And as it goes through the various steps, whether it's a public participation meeting at the committee, if it's a second or third appearance before the committee, every time it is attached to the agenda, the report, and as it's updated, the updates are available to the public. Then when it comes to the council for first and second reading, it is on our website, and there are links provided through our online posts and an address provided in our printed notification.
Any more questions? Concerns, anything? Go ahead, Deputy.
Just more of a comment, I guess. I guess I take offense to the fact that it was somewhat implied that this was going to be swept under the rug, or that we tried to amp this up or do something. There are processes in place that don't allow us to do those things. Everything has to go through the same way. Since I've sat here, I can say when I was a member of the public, I did think different. Since I've sat at this table, I've been educated on how things happen, and I can assure you that as I sit here today, if there was some kind of underlying, let's just push this through, I'd be the first one to talk about it. I also like to say that the integrity of those people sitting around this table would also not allow that to happen. I have full faith in the people who have been elected by the people of Yarmouth to do this job. And whether we disagree or not, sometimes the fact that we don't know all the information that's available makes us make assumptions that maybe sometimes accusations come that are unwarranted. But I will say, if I was a person who was a developer who wanted to come here with millions of dollars, I don't think that the first place that I would pick was the edge of a water where things could flood. I think I would do my due diligence in doing that. And as it's been said before, who are we to tell people how to spend their money? If they see that there's a value in building housing, and I think it's needed right across the country, not in Yarmouth, not just in Nova Scotia, but everywhere, I'm glad that there will be 56 units. And also, where people choose to live is also up to them. So I just like to put that on record, and I think that everything we do has due diligence. There's people who we hire for planners, there's engineers, there's it goes through the committee level, it comes to us. This is not just a one and done, let's build it. So I'm very happy to support this, and we'll be glad that there's 56 more units around for our people to have somewhere to live.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, I'm good as well, and I agree, Deputy, like, folks will decide where they'll live, but what I understand from a lot of people is I get to live on the water, like I get to live on the harbor with, you know, the sunsets and all those pieces. So I guess I think of Bishop's Landing in Halifax, where it doesn't get any busier than that, but it's all high-end apartments up above, so it's all part of it. So anyone else? We're good? All right then, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. And then 10B, the development agreement for 37 Huntington. That council passed second reading to enter into development agreement to allow A, 4 units to continue to be used as dwelling units, short-term rentals, or a combination thereof, and B, any use permitted within the underlying zone, with the exception of dwelling units in excess of 4 units of the Town of Yarmouth land use bylaw for the property at 37 Huntington Street. Okay. Okay, moved. Have I got a seconder by chance? Moved and seconded. Okay, discussion on this one. Go ahead.
Well, I'd just like to point out that what this has done, there's been a long process to introduce short-term rentals or Airbnbs into our municipal planning strategy to line up with what the province has done. This particular location, not unlike other locations that have come before, this isn't the first time we've gone through this process, we're already being used as short-term rentals, and so what we're doing is basically lining that up and making it legal in effect, but we're making legal something that had been happening for a period of time. And up until this point, the term short-term rental, Airbnb, didn't even exist within our MPS and LUB, but now it does. And so that's what this is a lining up to make this legitimate. And it's been happening, you know, for a good period of time up till now. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Can we have the 4? Can we have the 4 Airbnbs? We can obviously have the 4 Airbnbs.
Yeah.
It's not a hotel, but they do
It's
have to
not.
register now, so
Yeah.
there's taxes and
Yeah.
there's it's different
an
from the
SDR.
provincial level.
Yeah, it's a short-term rental.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Go ahead, Deputy.
And that just adheres with provincial legislation, correct?
Yes.
We had that, we went through that.
Yeah.
This once again comes up through the committee level, then comes to us. So
Yeah.
just to say, this kind of just puts everything where it needs to be, because you can only have 1 unit, and if not, you have to have a development agreement. I think the thought behind that is a lot of people had Airbnbs that may not have been registered. This way it ensures that, you know, everybody's on the books. We can then make sure that the standard is where it needs to be, and this is kind of, province came down, we did our part. This is what we do to work with those people who want to do more than just 1 unit.
And I think we can agree, like the registration was important because we want people to be paying their taxes if they're, you know, an income piece. Yes, by all means.
So, Your Worship, there was new legislation introduced at the provincial level regarding short-term rentals. And one of the requirements is that they had to provide proof of compliance with municipal bylaws. So they had to be in compliance with the bylaws. Our land use bylaw did not have any regulation, did not address, did not mention short-term rentals. And so that is why this is on the table, is to create an opportunity for people to be able to get their zoning confirmation. So there are a number of short-term rentals, Airbnbs or Verbos or whatever, that have been operating in the community for some time. We have no database, no record. We don't know where they are. but they're coming forward now and they're seeking either development permits or, if required, a development agreement. So this is one of those. And I don't know that we received a single complaint at Town Hall about Airbnbs or short-term rentals prior to introducing this amendment to the bylaw. So, you know, I'm hearing the presentations earlier where some concerns were raised, and I understand if police attended to disturbances, that is exactly what should happen. Whether it's a hotel, motel, Airbnb, single-family dwelling, apartment building, or business, that's the process. When there's a disturbance, you call the RCMP. So, again, not aware of any specific concerns coming to Town Hall about short-term rentals prior to this introduction, but I do respect the fact that some were verbalized earlier tonight.
Go ahead, Deputy.
And just to clarify, the province does define what a short-term rental is, Airbnb, what a hotel is, what, you know, residential or whatnot. So these definitions are handed down from the province to us, and we follow those rules.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Val, go ahead. Councillor Hatfield?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to add that I think this is a grandfathering process, and under the land use bylaws that have been approved by council regarding short-term rentals, it is the intention of council that short-term rentals will be constrained to owner-occupied residences and one suite, and anything beyond that will have to be a case-by-case basis that we consider. And I just have to say that if this request were coming to me from an individual who had not already been operating as a short-term rental for quite some time, and I would say that that property probably has been used as short-term rental for at least 2 years, and maybe since it was built. And if they were coming to me without that history, I would not be in favor of this decision. I think that there is, I agree with the premise that this is basically operating a hotel without any, or a bed and breakfast without any of the regulations and requirements, safeties, all of those things that go along with the normal regulation of a commercial enterprise. So I think we as a council have done the work that needed to be done in order to identify short-term rentals, Airbnbs, and to constrain them in the future. The reality, though, is that equity, you know, to be fair, this has been operating, and there are, I'm sure that the owner has built financial expectations on that basis, and this is an opportunity to grandfather in what has already been going on, and to at the same time recognize that it's not a use that not a concentration of use that we want to see in the future. So it's on that basis that I am prepared to approve the motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. All right, new business. Marketing levy bylaw. The recommended motion there is that council pass first reading to repeal the marketing promotions levy bylaw of January 1st, 2007 and replace with the marketing levy bylaw.
I'll make the motion.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those, sorry, go ahead.
Again, more for the public than for anyone else, because I know everybody here does their homework, but the change in the levy is, again, lining things up with the way things are being done on a provincial level. And so we're lining it up in order to include all properties that are within this town area, be it a hotel with a large hotel, which is the only ones up till this point, which would be subject to the marketing levy. So it'd be these hotels, the larger ones, the smaller hotels, the Airbnbs and short-term rentals will all be doing that. This levy is charged directly to the one who comes and stays, as is the way it's done pretty much everywhere. And that money goes back into the coffers and is used for marketing and promoting our area and for opportunities that may come up in terms of tourism opportunities and things like that. So it's extremely useful. It's going to help build the tourism industry here, and I'm very much in favor of the restructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Streetscape Phase 4, recommended motion that council award the request for proposal for the Streetscape Phase 4 concept design to Fathom Studio for $29,380 plus HST. Okay, moved by the deputy, second by Councillor Hatfield. Go ahead, Councillor Dayers.
Yeah, I just want to point out that the recommendation is to award it to Fathom Studios, who were the firm responsible for the two previous Main Street projects. So it's they do have that history.
Yeah, and a great history. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so anybody else? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Municipal planning strategy results. The recommended motion is that council award the municipal planning strategy review request for proposal to Upland Planning and Design Studio in the amount of $149,750 plus HST.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Cleveland. Seconded by Councillor Dayers. Discussion. Oh, sorry, I was looking at Councillor Hatfield, making sure she's not waving.
I'm sorry, I'm explaining again, but of course, every few years it becomes time to review the municipal planning strategy. It's one of the, well, it is the Bible when it comes to planning and development. And the time has come to look at it again. It's been a lot of discussion as to, because we had some very good tenders. Lots of discussion has gone into this decision, a lot of thought, some very lively discussions at times, and the CAO can certainly attest to that because he was a big part of that, and we're looking forward to it. The interesting thing about the municipal planning strategy, you'll hear a lot of it in the next couple of years because it's a long process in getting this done. But what you're trying to do is plan for the future and not for it's for what you want to be and not what you are when it comes to planning. And that's the exciting part of it. And I guess for all of you, the time will come that, we're going to look for your input, everybody's input, the input of the general public, because it's time to dream again and time to dream big. And that's always an exciting thing for me. Once the document is done, it tends to be fairly dry, but it's a pretty exciting process. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Town Crier, the recommended motion is that council provide an honorarium to Town Crier David Oley for services provided in 2023. Moved by Councillor Heather, seconded by Councillor Bell. Any discussion? Oh, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, what would that honorarium be? Do we know?
It's been a
I see is
thousand
the
and a
letter,
half.
but I don't see the.
Yep. 1,300 this year?
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. I have to say, he doesn't do too much for, it's great, and I wouldn't want to do it either, but everybody loves seeing the town crier, like, so it's a good deal. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. 11E, Municipal Capital Growth Program. So the recommended motion there is that council supports the submission of the wastewater treatment plant Phase 1 design for funding consideration under the Provincial Municipal Capital Growth Program. Somebody move that, Deputy? Oh, seconded by Councillor Bell. Who's bigger on the screen than everybody around here, and I still can't see it. I'm used to looking to my right and my left. When I look forward, I don't see. I'm glad you're there. Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion on this one? So I have a question. Wastewater treatment plant Phase 1. What's the
Your worship, Phase 1 is the design. This is for the design. So we did a study. As you know, we're required to meet the new federal effluent guidelines by 2040. And that's going to require two things: a reinvestment, recapitalization of the existing plant. For all intents and purposes, that building has fully reached the end of its engineered life. But the good news is it's still functioning really, really well. And that's a credit to the both how it was constructed, but also how it's being maintained by our staff. So this will be taking a concept of how that will be recapitalized and how the next phase of treatment will occur, and actually doing the design work around that. This isn't going to result in any bricks and mortar, nothing concrete. But it will get us ready to take the next step, which will be a tens of millions of dollars investment in that infrastructure. So with the application, I believe we're looking for 70% of the funding.
Okay. Any questions around that? My question was around, it's not around building anything or putting out our tens of millions of dollars. For good reason.
Yep.
Which I shouldn't say. That's what I will say. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Reports, Committee of the Whole?
No, Your Worship, sorry, there's another motion there.
What's that? Oh, sorry, yes, I did see that. Okay, so the second motion under the Municipal Capital Growth Program is that council supports the submission of the old Yarmouth High School demolition and remediation for funding consideration under the Provincial Municipal Capital Growth Program. You should probably...
Yeah, you're kind of wondering what the heck is this? So this is an opportunity. This particular program does provide an opportunity for demolition type projects. Those are few and far between. And this was not high on our agenda to include in the, obviously the wastewater treatment plant is something we know we're going to have to do, and that's important. This, however, we thought we would bring it to you for your consideration as a contingency. So if we're successful, we would get a large grant to assist with the demolition if that becomes the direction the council wants to take. I know we've talked about our options there, and we currently have a request for proposals that is active in the community and through Procurement Nova Scotia, looking for interest in doing something with the building. But failing that, if that does not succeed, if we succeed with the application, then there's another question to be asked of council. It is not in any way intended to preempt council's decision-making authority or the process we currently have going on, but if we let this go without making an application, then we don't have the opportunity to access the funding that might otherwise be available. So just wanted to be clear on that. And if we, sorry, if I could say one more thing.
Go ahead.
If through the RFP process we receive a compelling proposal that council wants to move forward with, and we receive the grant funding for demolition, then my suggestion to you is we just simply refuse the grant funding at that time.
Okay.
right? So this is not, if you get the money, you must move forward with demolition. It is, we're applying for the money in case we need to go down that road.
Okay. So there will be, what's that? Oh, we haven't? Oh, that's right, okay. I need a mover,
So moved.
okay? And a seconder, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, in my mind, this is kind of like an insurance policy,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
we can't continue, you know, for another decade to maintain that building. So I think it's a great start to finding a solution.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that, I'm glad you explained it, because I think there's going to be folks out there that see that word and they're going to say they're taking it down. That's not the case at all. Perfect word, Counselor. Like, it's an insurance policy. Should we have to go that way? Because we can't put in housing. We just have to make sure that somebody can do that, and if they can't, we can't ask the taxpayers to keep doing what they're doing, so. Any more discussion on this one? Okay, all those in, oh, sorry, go ahead, Counselor Bell. Thank you for keeping an eye on her, folks.
Just a related question. The RFP process, I think it was supposed to close in December. Has it been extended? Has the deadline been extended?
My understanding is it's late January. I think it's 24th of January, maybe.
Oh, okay. Great, thank you.
I've got a funny feeling they're going to be double checking that tomorrow. Just to make sure, although I believe you, but. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, we're good on January. Okay, anything further? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Okay, now we get to the deputy mayor, so you're on for council advisory. Go ahead.
Recommended motion that council refer the installation of a crosswalk on Parade Street across from Myrtle Street to the 2024-2025 budget.
So moved. Second by Councillor Heather. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
Recommended motion that council opt in to extend the producer responsibility and the waste check, and that waste check will negotiate on our behalf.
Okay, so moved. Seconded by Councillor Gill, Councillor Dares. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary? Motion carried.
A recommended motion that council direct staff to amend the grants policy to include a contingency fund.
Second by Councillor Bell. Any discussion?
I'd just like to say I'm happy with the way things went this year. I think it was the best, setup that we've done. I like the 2 intakes that we did, and I just like the idea of having a little, in the bank in case an emergency comes, and we're still available to support things that some people might not have knew that was kind of coming down the tube. So
Exactly. Yep. Okay, anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
recommended motion that council pass the first reading to amend the fire department bylaw.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on this one?
Once again, just happy to see that the age has been dropped to 17 years old. I think that's great, and I'm talking to Chief Mike, and hopefully have some discussions with some kids at the high school, and get them involved nice and early, and continue to build our fire department moving in the right direction. So,
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
Recommended motion that council send a letter of acknowledgement for Coastal Restoration Society's work in Yarmouth and support for the future funding applications in Yarmouth and the surrounding region.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Heather. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
Recommended motion that council amend the dangerous or unsightly premises policy.
Moved and seconded by Councillor Dares. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
And a recommended motion that council send a letter to the Minister of Transportation expressing some same concerns about moving the ferry service. I think that should say some concerns about moving the ferry service.
Okay, so that's already been taken care
Good
of.
there.
Motion and defeated?
Yeah, we can just vote
Yeah.
against it.
Seconded.
Yeah, moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Against?
I'm going to say aye just because.
Nay.
Hear that one? All those against?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, that motion was defeated.
I cannot believe it.
Technicalities. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead there, Deputy, you good? That was the last one. Okay, Planning Advisory, that's Councillor Cleveland. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not sure,
I don't
I think we can do
understand
this
why
in
we-
one foul swoop. So I'll read the motion, which has two parts to it, but I think it can be done just in the one. I believe it can. The recommended motion is that council pass first reading to A, amend the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw as outlined in the report, and B, enter into a development agreement with the owners of 107 Main Street to accommodate accessory buildings within a budding yard setback area shared within a residential zone.
Okay. Someone going to second that? Okay, Deputy? Discussion on this one? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary? Motion carried.
And that's it. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, reports for information, if there's any, they're on there. There's no mayor's report, but I will say on behalf of council, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone out there. It's been a wild ride of a year. I don't know how else to say it, but we have accomplished so much. And I didn't write a list because we'll do that in the January meeting. We'll do an encompassing list of, things that we've done and things that we're looking forward to. But I do want to say on behalf of council, it's been a great year. We've been busy to the bone. I know I'm looking at the table and thinking, we've been at the table and the screen, and we've been extremely busy. And I want to say publicly, thanks to every single one of you that's here that put in all the work. I've watched and I've listened, and I'm actually in awe of the hours that you put in as council members, and it's appreciated. And it's funny how you just say, no, I'll do that, and off you go. So there's some really, really big things, and it's a lot of work. So thanks for that, and a huge thank you to every single staff member. I'll tell you, I don't know who picks the staff, but somebody's doing a great job. But they pick, you know what? That's a good way to put it, Jeff. The RCAO just said they pick us. And I think it's a meeting right in the middle. It's a great place to work. The staff is having fun. We trust them. It's just a really great team. So thanks to everybody there and to the entire community, because people listening right now are the core of the community. There are volunteers. They're feeding people. Right now they're busy, gathering toys for the kids and things for the families, and making sure everybody has everything they need for the season and all year round. So, what else can you say about this community? We just give. So, just have a great holiday season, folks, and make sure you reach out if there's things you need. Okay, questions for committee chairs? Oh, you're going to say something. It can be a comment, doesn't have to be a question.
That's right. It's a comment that I want to make too, because there is a couple of things. I get all sentimental this time of year. And,
We all do.
And I got to tell you that I get up in the morning and I'm excited all the time, because there's so much potential here. And I've said it forever, but it feels somehow like we're on the edge of something really exciting. other than the edge of everywhere. We really are on the edge of something really exciting here because there's so many irons in the fire and so many things that we're up to and so many things that this council as a group are into. And that's why this council works so well, is because we all have these little, not lanes, I don't want to call it lanes because it sounds too exclusive, but we have these strengths and everybody has their own and they're all going off and they're doing these things. And it's pretty amazing, the potential that the town has, and finally you're feeling it somehow. I feel it, maybe it's just me. But the other thing is what you brought up. Times aren't really easy right now. They're not. Economically, things are tough. You know, the prices and the inflation, and it's causing food insecurity, it's causing many different things. And this group is part of that, and we usually step up as a group and we do our little bits, you know, things like what the deputy mayor is doing with Feed the Need and what you do with 100 Meals and what I do with toys and that kind of thing. But it wouldn't work if it weren't for the community. When you ask for something, the community supplies. This community steps up. And I think that's part of the reason why I get so excited, because this community cares. And it's so significant to see when you ask for something, how fairly easy it is to get that thing you're asking for. You know, he needed money for Feed the Need. I keep doing that with him. Sorry. I washed my hands, I promise. And what are you up around? 14,000 plus that he has, you know, with 100 Meals, it's kind of the same thing. It's not probably quite those numbers, but the same thing. I went to drop off toys today to the Salvation Army, and the entire inside of that place is packed with stuff. It's amazing to me. So thank you, but thank you, the community. Yeah. Because it wouldn't exist without you. We don't do this, you do. All we do is ask. We're the pains in the ass. They're the ones who come up with this stuff. And so thank you. And Merry Christmas to everyone.
Very true. Go ahead, Deputy.
It's so true. I've always said the best part about Yarmouth is the people in it. There's no benefit that I ever seen that wasn't a success. You know, some Facebook posts about we need a little money for people, and you know, the outpouring comes in to the point now that we're able to work with other organizations and support what they're doing for their, you know, Christmas, and not just Christmas, but all year round. So I'm very thankful to be from here. People often highlight our issues, but boy, when we come together, we can do some things. So thank you to the public for always stepping up. I just like to say charity is not a competition. There's a lot of things out there that a lot of different people are doing. Find something that you believe in and support it. So thank you to everybody who always steps up, and I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Anyone else? It has. It has. We're proud of this community. We're just proud of this community. They just keep stepping up. So it's all good. All right. So we have approval of invoices. That various invoices be approved for payment. Thank you. Councillor Dares, Deputy Mayor. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Date of next meeting is January the 11th. And we have some in camera.
Your Worship, just before we go in camera, I'm just letting you know, and particularly for Councillor Bell, if she wants to join, I guess we'll go inside or we'll clear the room. There are two information items. Okay.
Oh, okay. Want to stay, Belle? Just stay, can we just stay here?
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.